And if unchecked and unaltered, I will react in harsh ways that make me no better than that which I despise. When I see a lack of self-control, what I see is foolishness. But see, I think that we all have a greater purpose. And I think to truly find it, you can't align your purpose with this material world. You have to align your purpose with the spiritual world. When we do that, that purpose becomes something greater than ourselves. Because to be content and to be fulfilled, I think, are two completely different things. Because you can be content and still be very much unfulfilled. I think the only way we really truly feel that fulfillment is when we get in line with our true purpose, God's purpose for our life. We get in line with that, and that ultimately is what will lead us to peace in this life. In pursuing that purpose, if it's greater than you, then you've already put yourself in a place of humility. Because now it's not about you. You're striving for something that's beyond you. And that in itself shows humility. You've sacrificed self for this greater thing. So truth. It's king. Truth is king. Hey, welcome back to Proving Proverbs. I am Brad Casper, and this is where we read the text, absorb the knowledge, display the wisdom, and reap the blessings. Because that's what we're promised by the Most High, that if we follow His guidance, His instructions, that we will be blessed. And, you know, the book of Proverbs sets out two paths in front of us. And we get to choose which path we will take through this life. And these two paths are completely opposite of each other. One of the paths is the path of the wise, and the other path is the path of the foolish. And I know that may sound like, oh, well, who would choose the foolish path? But unfortunately, many do, and I think oftentimes without even realizing it. That's the reality. There are two paths here. We get to choose. But it's what we do along the way that determines what path we ultimately finish on. And so that's the name of the game here at Proving Proverbs. It's to try and implement these things into our life so that we can finish on that path. And you know, each week we choose a word or a phrase to hone in on and to really try and dial in on and to put our focus on and to try and, keep it in the forefront of our mind as we carry through life that week. And this week, that word is self-control. And it's interesting to me how this seems to work. Because, you know, I read ahead the chapter, obviously, and I highlight a lot of things in it, and I take notes, and then I'll just meditate on it, you know, after reading it, and try to allow, you know, a word just to permeate up out of the meditation, out of, you know, that quiet time. And oftentimes the word that comes up out is something that I struggle with or have struggled with in the past. And self-control is definitely one of those things. Sorry, if you see flies, I just want to do a little disclaimer here. If you see black flies, I don't know if they released them or if there was a hatch, something, but the last 2 days, they're everywhere. And it's like every time someone opens the door, 5 of them come in. I mean, it's just that they are everywhere, and it's extremely annoying. So I apologize if you see flies everywhere. I promise we're not dirty around here. It's, I don't know what's going on, but they're everywhere. Anyway, I stated in one of the other videos, in one of the previous videos here, that in high school, my senior year, I was chosen for quickest temper. You know how in the yearbook, they choose people for different things, and yeah, I was king of the quickest temper. And that's something I'm not very proud of today. But that's who I was. That's who I was back then, and that's who I was for a very long time. And if I'm being honest, self-control is still something that I struggle with today. It's just that, like anything else, with practice, you get better and better, And so this is definitely one of those things that require an immense amount of practice to be able to fully implement this thing, into your life. It definitely takes a lot of practice and, a lot of willpower, I would say. And so, yeah, when I was younger, I had no self-control at all. And that was in all areas of my life. Like, there was just no self-control, none. And, like I said, that's not something I'm very proud of. And, oftentimes my boys will bring up things from, Dad, what did you do back then? Or, things from that time period in my life. And I don't even want to tell them about it because I'm ashamed of a lot of it, now, today. But, these things I think are all part of each one of us, our own individual experiences. And these things are what ultimately allow us to grow and become the individuals that we were ultimately meant to be. And self-control looked a lot different back then. The lack thereof, I should say. It was in all areas of my life. But now, today, where I struggle with self-control isn't in those same areas anymore. I've somewhat mastered self-control when it comes to those type of things. Now, I will admit, there is a possibility that I may slip up every once in a while, but for the most part, I feel like I have conquered those areas of problem from my past. But today, the self-control comes in when I look out into the world and I see things that anger me, that discourage me, that brings about this negative energy in me, and it's a result of the things that I see out there. And it's this clear evil that I see out there, and I get, I get angry at it. And, that's where I feel like self-control comes in today for me. I have to try and practice this self-control in relationship to the external world, this physical reality, and all the things that I see taking place right now. These things that draw this low vibrational negative energy from me, I have to practice self-control, or I, if unrestrained, will take on the same form as that which I don't like out there. And so I understand that, and I don't want to take on the same characteristics of the things out there that I dislike. And so I have to try and restrain myself. I have to practice this thing called self-control when it comes to dealing with a lot of these things that we see out there today. Last week the word was justice, but in that conversation, a lot of it was around injustices. And it's those injustices that stir me up today. And if unchecked and unaltered, I will react in harsh ways that make me no better than that which I despise. And so that's where self-control comes in today. And that's not to say that we are not called to point out those evils, to expose those evils, because I do believe that that's part of our work as well. We have to point out that darkness. We have to expose that darkness and that evil, hoping that other eyes will open and see what's clearly there. And in that, a lot of people come to God through seeing the evils in the world, because once you see it, then you're left with the question, well, if there's that type of evil out there, well, then there must be a God. I mean, ultimately, that's how my experience unfolded. That's my whole testimony is around that. It was around seeing the evil in the world, and that clicked in my head that if that evil exists, well, then so does God. And so for a lot of people, just pointing that evil out and getting them to see that darkness, that's all it takes to bring a lot of people to God. But that's only one part of it, right? I mean, we should be calling out that evil, we should be pointing it out, but then we should also be pointing people towards the light. And that light, in my opinion, is this. This is that light. Yeshua is that light. And so that's that's what I think. And with these with the media landscape changing in the way that it is today, communication looks a lot different today, right? It's all digital, it's all through screens, and this is something that we've just come to accept as the new normal. And this is the way for many that we communicate. And with that, you will see, when you look out into that landscape of media today, you will see a clear lack of self-control. And I don't know about you, but when I see that, what it screams to me is foolishness. When I see a lack of self-control, what I see is foolishness, oftentimes. And so, as followers of this way, the last thing we want to do is present ourselves as foolish to those eyes watching us, right? Because if you are proclaiming, this book to be your truth, well, then you are representing the God of this book. And if you are representing the God of this book, the last thing you want to do is present yourself as foolish, because then that looks bad on the boss man, right? That's how that works. And so we don't want to appear as foolish to the world. And if a lack of self-control screams foolishness, well, then we have to practice self-control so that we don't also look foolish, because then it looks bad on the one that we supposedly represent, right? And so foolishness is not the path of the wise. That's the path for others who choose that path, but not for those who desire to walk in the way of this book. And so, yeah, self-control, it's very important. It's very important. And, it affects a lot of things. It can affect your credibility, and how people view you, I mean, if you're just somebody that's flying off the handle all the time and can't restrain yourself from these low vibrational characteristics, well, then, that doesn't look good, right? And it can destroy, your credibility. And if you destroy your credibility, no one's going to listen to you. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? We're trying to get people to hear the word of God, like to hear that there is a light in all that darkness. And so, yeah, we have to keep in mind that we're representing something here that's bigger than us. And, the way that we carry ourselves shines light onto the thing that we claim to follow. And so we need to always keep in mind that we need to be practicing this self-control so that, people who are looking to us and seeing us, that they're not seeing hypocrisy in us. And so it's a challenge. It's something, I'm sure a lot of people struggle with. I mean, it's part of our human nature, these things. And, self-control is something that you have to want to implement. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't think, something that comes natural to a lot of people. For what I would think to be many of us, it's something to be desired and something that requires willpower to demonstrate in your life. So anyway, chapter 20 starts out, wine is reckless, strong drink quarrelsome. Unwise is he whom it seduces. Like the roaring of a lion, the fury of a king. Whoever provokes his anger wrongs his own life. It is to a man's honor if he avoids quarrels, but fools never exercise self-control. Autumn is over, but the idler does not plow. At harvest time he looks, nothing there. Deep in water are the purposes in human hearts. The discerning man has only to draw them out. Many describe themselves as kindly men, but who can a man find that he really can trust? A virtuous man whose ways are blameless, happy his children after him. A king enthroned on the judgment seat with one look scatters all that is evil. What man can say, I have cleansed my heart, I am purified of my sin? One weight here, another there, here one measure, there another. Both alike are abhorrent to Yahweh. Even at play, a child reveals whether his actions will be pure and right. Ear that hears, eyes that see, Yahweh has made both of these. Do not love sleep, or you will know poverty. Keep your eyes open and have bread to spare. No good, says the buyer, but he goes off congratulating himself. There is gold and profusion of pearls, but lips that speak knowledge, that is a priceless ornament. Take the man's clothes, he has gone surety for a stranger. Seize him to the profit of persons unknown. A man finds bread sweet when it is got by fraud, but later his mouth is full of grit. Weigh your plans in consultation, with sound guidance wager war. The bearer of gossip lets out secrets, have nothing to do with chatterers. Whoever curses father or mother in blackest darkness shall have his lamp snuffed out. Property quickly come by at first will not be blessed in the end. Do not say, I will repay evil. Put your hope in Yahweh, and he will keep you safe. One weight here, another there. This is abhorrent to Yahweh. False scales are not good. Yahweh guides a man's steps. How could man discern the way he goes? A man is trapped when he shouts dedicated and only begins to reflect after the vow. A wise king winnows the wicked and makes their spite recoil on themselves. Man's spirit is the lamp of Yahweh, searching his deepest self. Kindness and loyalty mount guard over the king. His throne is founded on kindness. The glory of young men is in their strength, the dignity of old gray hair. Wounding strokes are good medicine for evil. Blows bring healing to the deepest self. I think chapter 20 may be my favorite chapter so far here. Wow, a lot of profound verses in there. I mean, there are many. I want to focus in on a couple of them here and highlight what it is that they're saying. So, verse 5 says, "Deep in water are the purposes in human hearts. The discerning man has only to draw them out." And then, in light of that, this verse, 24, "Yahweh guides a man's steps. How could man discern the way he goes?" And so, when you have those two verses back to back, it creates this interesting vision for me. Because I believe that each one of us has a purpose here. And I think that that purpose is something that's beyond ourselves. It's something greater than ourselves. The shame of it is that many of us try to align our purpose with this material world so that we can have all the things that we want in life, right? And so we align our purpose. We try to make our purpose match what it is that will bring us into those things. But see, I think that we all have a greater purpose. And I think to truly find it, you can't align your purpose with this material world. You have to align your purpose with the spiritual world. And when we do that, that purpose becomes something greater than ourselves. And unfortunately, I feel like many people go through their life and they never find it. Instead, they just find this phony purpose that they have identified as their purpose to suit them in this material world. When in reality, they did have a greater purpose that they never found because they settled for content, right? A lot of people, they get to a certain spot, they have all the things they want and need out of this life, and so they're content. I think that feeling of content is a disservice to our purpose in being here. Because there are many other people that go through this life and hit that place of being content, but it's not enough. It's not enough. There's always something still screaming within you that it's not complete. You're incomplete. And it is my opinion that you will feel that sense of being discontent, unsatisfied, unfulfilled. You're going to have all these feelings that are there to keep you pushing forward, to keep you seeking after that purpose. And so I think that when you find that purpose and you pursue that purpose, that's when you will feel true contentment. That's when you will feel fulfilled. Because to be content and to be fulfilled, I think, are two completely different things. Because you can be content and still be very much unfulfilled. I think the only way we really truly feel that fulfillment is when we get in line with our true purpose, God's purpose for our life. We get in line with that, and that ultimately is what will lead us to peace in this life and this feeling of fulfillment. And just imagine what the world, this material world, imagine what this world would look like if everybody in it, instead of pursuing this phony purpose in the material realm and instead pursued their spiritual purpose, their true purpose. Imagine if everybody collectively pursued that purpose. Imagine what this world would look like. It would look completely different. Because in pursuing that purpose, if it's greater than you, then you've already put yourself in a place of humility. Because now it's not about you. You're striving for something that's beyond you. And that in itself shows humility. You've sacrificed self for this greater thing. And if everybody did that, then pride would die, the ego would die, and humility is what would reign. And that's what I think heaven looks like. That's what I think God's kingdom looks like. It's a kingdom ruled by humility. There is no sense of self there. It's about the whole. It's about the unity. And, I know it's part of the programming that's what we strive for in this life. And so, a lot of us try to, set a goal up and we make that goal our purpose and we pursue that goal through our life. And for a lot of people, they come into it, they achieve that, but yet there's still something missing. And when that's the case, that's telling you, that's this verse right here. Yahweh guides a man's steps. How could a man discern the way he goes? See, you can choose these things for your life. But when God has another purpose, that's where it's at. In my opinion, that's where it's at. And when you come into that, the feelings that come with that, the feelings that are opposite of the feelings that you have when you feel like that something's missing, that you're incomplete. It's the complete opposite of that. You will feel complete. You will feel content, true content. You will feel satisfied because you will be in line with your purpose. And so I think that's very important, and sometimes that requires sacrificing what it is that you think you want out of this life. But I really think understanding that this material world, it only has so much to offer, and even if you obtained it all, you don't take it with you. So what good is it? What does it matter? Yeah, we have to live, we have to survive, we have to have some sense of security. But is that the goal? Is that the purpose? Or is it something greater? And I can tell you now for sure that there are people out there, especially today, that are yearning to hear this. People need that. And as we continue on in time, it's only going to grow because, the technology that's driving this culture and paving the way forward into the future, that technology is inhuman. And so there is going to be a desire for authenticity that people are going to, they're going to yearn for that because of everything being synthetic and fake. I think we can already see that happening. And so if we're people that are followers of God, then it's all of us that should be, pointing these people into the light. And I just don't see how pursuing that could not be part of all of our purposes in this life. Because you're considering others, you're trying to help others, and so you've left yourself behind. And I think that if Yeshua displayed anything in his life, it was just that it's about others. It's about helping others, right? And so the first step in that is leading them into the light so that they can see the truth. Because that world that's out there is a world that's made up of lies. So truth, it's king. Truth is king. And so we should all do our best to proclaim it, right? So anyway, yeah, that's all I got for this week. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, please like the video. I'd love to hear from you. Please comment. Let me know, anything that you pulled from it or any experiences that you would like to share. Again, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel as we continue our journey through the book of Proverbs, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. And until next week, I am Brad Casper. This is Proving Proverbs. See you then. We're out.